Would you like to accelerate your career and reach your full potential in just minutes a day? Welcome to the LEADx Show with New York Times bestselling author and Inc. 500 entrepreneur, Kevin Kruse.
How can you develop and monetize your personal brand? Hello, everyone. Kevin Kruse here, helping you to get 1% better each and every day. And today, we're going to learn the secrets of personal branding. But first, I want to encourage you to visit LEADx.org and sign up for our 60-second newsletter. Each issue has actionable tips you can try right away to improve your productivity and to advance your career. Visit LEADx.org. Our guest today is a proud British entrepreneur, a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and an expert on personal branding. You can find his podcast, Youpreneur FM, on iTunes and Stitcher. Our guest is the one and only Kruse Ducker. Chris, welcome. How you doing?
Thanks. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. And I love the proud Brit in the little intro there. You're the first guy that's ever done that on a podcast interview. And I stick it bloody everywhere. So I'm quite happy that you picked up on that. That's good.
Well, absolutely. If you stick it everywhere, then it means it's a good lead in and
it's
true.
Yes, it is. It's good to be here, man. I appreciate you having me on.
No, that's great. I know we're on opposite sides of the world right now. I was in your home country just a couple weeks ago and got back, and it's always fun to be in England, be in London.
Yeah, I've been out of the UK now since 2000. Pretty much actually since 96. I've not been sort of 100% in the UK, but definitely since 2000, I've been well and truly away from it. Although I go back a couple of times each year. But the hot news is actually that I'm moving back with the family next year. So middle of 2017, we'll be making our way back and settling there. So it's going to be an interesting year next year.
Wow, yeah, I think maybe I'm breaking some news because that's the first I heard of that. That sounds great.
It's not public knowledge quite yet. So yeah, it's just for you and the thousands of people tuning in right now, just keep it between us for the time being, all right?
Good thing there's a little time lag on this recording to when we air.
There you go.
All right, now, Chris, we're going to talk about personal branding in just a minute, but I like to provide our listeners with some immediate value, high energy right out of the gate. So I'm going to hit you with the lightning round questions first.
Okay.
All right. What advice would you give to a young professional who's eager to get ahead in her career?
Okay, so I don't care if you are already looking at the entrepreneur angle for your career. I don't care if you're, a 30-something sitting in corporate America somewhere or corporate England, corporate anywhere for that matter, trying to build a career inside of that more sort of traditional employer-employee relationship. You must build your personal brand. You must have a home base on the internet other than your Facebook profile, because guess what? You don't own it. Zuckerberg does. And you must, actively look at creating value for anybody that happens to stumble along and over your website or your podcast or whatever it is you're doing to build that personal brand. The fact is actually that I think a personal brand today is more important than ever before. And I think a lot of people, particularly younger professionals, are skipping over it as a way to be able to actually build their career and further their career. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to build a personal brand. So I would zoom in on that and get active in building your own personal brand.
Never too early to start working on your personal brand, and we're going to dive deeper into that in a couple of minutes here. So, tell us a time, Chris. I read your intro, and you obviously have had a lot of success. But tell me the time when you were leading a team, you were serving as a leader, and you failed.
Yeah, good gosh. Where do I? There's just so many options here for this story. I think that the thing is, if you're not failing, then you're not moving forward, right? So that's the way I look at failure. I don't fear failure. I don't care for it a whole lot, but I don't fear it. And I think that's one of the reasons why you meet anybody that's had any level of success. They've failed countless times, and they're going to do it also again in the future. My issue was probably, what are we looking at here? Early 2011, we launched a service based entirely on me drinking my own Kool-Aid And we launched it. It was called Your Web PA. And I was 100% convinced that people were going to be happy to pay a premium to outsource tasks like article writing, ebook creation, graphics, and things like that, on top of what they would usually pay at somewhere like, 99 Designs,
right,
or Elance, or, Freelancer, or something like that, based entirely on my reputation in the outsourcing world. And like I said, I drank my own Kool-Aid. We launched. I probably put about 30 grand into the build out. We had a team of about 15 people, fully trained, ready to go. The orders came in. We were all happy. And then after the initial kind of big hoo-ha of the launch, everything just dropped and never came back. And yes, I lost money. Yes, I lost time, which is way more important than money. But honestly, I was more embarrassed because I failed in front of the people that I was leading. And I've always said I'm not a good manager, but I do class myself as a good leader. And so I was extremely embarrassed, very upset. I was obviously upset that I lost money, but I was more upset that I looked like somebody with a little bit of egg on his face in front of people that he was taking care of. So there's your failure. Your web PA. You will forever be in the archives.
Thanks for sharing that, Chris. Yeah, I like to say, you win or learn, and I've certainly learned many times. Yeah. And in fact, I mean, in similar situations where I've lost the most money and time have been the situations where I was most confident of my success. I just knew I had the best idea. And then, life has a funny way of humbling you when you most need it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So as I talk to so many high achievers, I notice that many of them have specific morning routines, almost like morning rituals. So I'm just curious, what's your typical morning look like?
Yeah, this has been a thing, hasn't it? Like, a lot of people are talking about morning routines and early starts and things like that the last couple of years. I mean, I've never really got to the point where I've got like a real routine, if that makes sense, right? I mean, I'm an early riser, so I'm up usually around 6:30 in the morning. I start by drinking a couple of glasses of water just to kind of rehydrate myself, and then I just get going, kind of thing. My major thing is that I want to move my body first thing before I do everything else, because I know that I hate exercise. I'm very vocal about this. I despise it. I hate exercise in every way, shape, or form, but I do it every day because I know it's good for me. Plain and simple. That's why I eat my broccoli as well. You know what I mean? Like, so, I do exercise every day. I'm either on the cross trainer, which we have here in the house, or I swim because there's a pool a 2-minute walk away from where I live, or I do yoga with my wife. So one of those three things happen kind of every single day, except for on the weekends. On the weekends, I do absolutely nothing at all. So Monday to Friday, I do a little exercise, and then my focus is actually to get rid of my creative work first. So it could be writing a blog post, it could be recording a podcast, it could be filming a video, it could be, creating content to share in a book, or maybe it's writing a book, or whatever it is. But creative work first before everything else, and then I actually get stuck in to work at around 10 o'clock, and I'm done by 4 p.m. every day, and I don't work on Fridays. So Monday through to Thursday, probably around 8 in the morning I start, and then I stop at 4, and that's kind of what I do. That's it.
So many value bombs in there for everyone. And I think I could hear the cheering out when you said you hate exercising. But
hate it.
You're right. I mean, we generally wake up and we're already 1% dehydrated. So doing that, sort of inner bath of water. And even I hate exercise as well. I'm right there with you, Chris. I try to get on the treadmill for 20 minutes just to get the blood flowing, get the brain working. Yeah. And create in the morning. I mean, that's when we're going to be at our cognitive best.
And the water, the inner bath thing, I got that from my friend Sean Stevenson.
Sean's the man.
He is, and he's the guy is just a freak of knowledge when it comes to all that kind of stuff. And when you say you try and get on the treadmill and do the 20 minutes, that 20 minutes is 20 minutes more than pretty much probably the majority of the people that you know.
Right.
So, people generally don't work out. They don't exercise across the board, not as much as they should anyway. And walking is not exercise. Walking is just getting from A to B. Like, doctors,
Right.
like you've got to get your heart going.
That's
and
right.
Walking doesn't do that, right? So, yeah, I like the idea of you doing just 20 minutes. It's better than doing nothing at all.
That's right. All right, so let's switch back over. Now, you are an expert on personal branding. You lead an online community called Youpreneur Academy. But let's start at the basics. So, for people who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and for people who are just trying to get ahead in the big company that they're working in, tell me more. Like, why now is personal branding so important? I mean, that we're all supposed to be just authentic and our authentic self. Is personal branding in some way, at opposite ends of that?
Well, I think it's at opposite ends. I think it's in the middle and up and down, left and right, and everywhere else. I think being authentic. Everybody talks about being, the importance of being transparent, and the importance of being authentic, and you know what? I just call that being a nice person. Like, when did we stop being? Like, when did that stop being a thing?
When did we just start lying to everybody we
right? Exactly. Like, when did we stop being when did we stop being like, just a nice human being? And so, for me, sure, if you need to put emphasis on, authenticity and, validating yourself as a good person, then do that. But I think, personal branding it's more than just wanting to have a good reputation. When you are falling forward in a clarity-based mindset of building your own personal brand, it means you want to go above and beyond just having a decent Twitter profile. It means you want to go above and beyond being just authentic and transparent. It means you genuinely want to be known for a certain thing in a certain business arena. And, it's like people want to do business with other people more so today than ever before. I call this my P2P philosophy on relationships, or people to people. We've got B2B and B2C. It's P2P. And even if you're working in a job, even if you don't have your own business, people still want to do business with you because you're a real person. And that P2P connection is very important. It's definitely important for people in sales and marketing and advertising, because as a sales professional myself, I can tell you almost every sale I ever made, every classified ad, every display advertising, every front cover I sold at the publishing company that I worked with for almost a decade, every single one of those sales I made was made because of the relationships that I had with the people at the other end of the phone or on the other side of the dinner table, or whatever the case may be. So it's that P2P focus, that focus on serving the people that you come into contact with, not selling them outright. Gary talks about it being jab, 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 right hook, and, give, and then ask, and that sort of type of thing. And no matter how you sugarcoat it, that's the way it is. And the big thing for me is that I know that my personal brand is what people say about me when I'm not around, right? So if I'm not at that conference, or if I'm not at that networking event, or at that breakfast, or whatever it is, at that coffee meeting, if people are talking about me, what are they saying about me? What are they saying about me in regards to my ethics as a business person? What are they saying about me in regards to the way that I help people, or the way that I might potentially inspire people? That's my personal brand. And so being, like I said, falling forward with that clarity-based mindset on what your personal brand is and what you want to be known for, that's something that a lot of people don't have. And I feel that they should have that mindset more today, more so than ever before.
Yeah, Chris, it's really interesting. You just triggered a bunch of stuff with that. And I like what you said. It's one, are people even talking about you when you're not there? And then what is it that they're saying? And, I'm almost 50 years old now. I've got a lot of friends in, big companies around the world. And I can't tell you how many times in just the last few years, I've had friends reach out and say, Kevin, I'm shocked. I was just laid off from my job. I gave them 20 something years. I thought I was going to retire here, and I'm laid off. Let me know if you hear anything. And these are people who are in their 50s already, looking to now land a new job. And, I'll go on to LinkedIn, and they have 13 connections and no picture on their profile, and they have no presence on social media whatsoever. And as you said, it's never too early to start building your personal brand, and it's never too late, because even in a big company, you could be, well into your career and nothing is guaranteed. And so I like what you said, like, are people talking about you and what are they saying? In your own organization, does the top leadership even know you exist? And what do they think of you? Are you a high potential? Are you a high value person? Or if they got to cut 5 to 10% of the head count, are you on the wrong side of that list?
Yeah.
So it's really important. It's not, what do people think of you? That really puts it really plainly.
And it sucks when I hear stories about people giving, a particular corporation or company their, ultimately their best years, and then they just they go like that. It's horrific to hear those kind of stories. But I tell you what, it's happening more and more and more. And one of the easy ways to be able to bounce back from it is to have that reputation and have that brand about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone says, "Hey, okay, I'm convinced that I should be doing this, but how do I brand myself? Like, I'm not an expert at anything, or I don't really know what my unique value is, my value proposition." Where would you tell them to start? How can they figure that out?
Well, the first thing they need to do is they need to define who they are and what they want to be known for. That's the single most important thing. A lot of people just go into this sort of just saying, well, I'm an expert on staff retention, for example, and they just sort of get started with that, and they put themselves out there and say, I can help you with staff retention. That's not enough. You've got to go deeper than that. You've got to really, really go as deep down as you can on defining who you actually are, what you can do, the benefits of working with you, how you're going to change people's lives, what kind of self-awareness you have about yourself is key to what that overall brand will become. So you can do two things really easily to define who you are. The easiest way to do it is this: you get a piece of paper, you draw a line down the middle of it, and you're going to make two lists for yourself. The first list is called the flatter yourself list. And you can write down all of the things that you are just incredible at, all the things that you excel at, everything that that when you talk about this or when you do that, you just shine. Just flatter the hell out of yourself. Now, that second list is called the Be Real with Yourself list. and that's a list of all the things that you suck at, the stuff that you struggle with, the stuff that you avoid outright. And that right there, that little exercise alone, that self-awareness exercise, is huge to defining who you actually are, and what you want to be known for and what you want to become known for. But one of the biggest exercises that I get my personal brand students and coach do is I actually get them to write their own business obituary.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine your business has died after X amount of years of success.
Right.
How would you want your business to be remembered if everything ended suddenly? And you've got to hold absolutely nothing back here. You've got to reach for the stars. And that's how you define who you are and what you want to be known for. And that really is the beginning of it. After that, the next logical step is obviously to define who your perfect customer is or your avatar is. Because now that we know who we are and what we want to be known for, we now have to think about who we want to work with and who we want to serve. So the second exercise then is obviously to go ahead and define that perfect customer.
Now, Chris, I'm actually going to even just underline that second part, because with all the personal branding stuff that's going on, I always hear people talk about discover your strengths, figure out your unique attributes, your traits, your personality. Almost nobody talks about that second piece, which is your ideal customer, right? Your avatar. Yeah. And we're not talking about the science fiction blue aliens. We're talking about the personification of your ideal customer. And so it's your unique strengths and attributes matched with that target audience that really would make you stand out. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. Because, if you think about it, there's no point in knowing who you are and what you want to be known for unless you know who you're actually going to help and serve at the same time. I mean, they go hand in hand. And this is why so many people, when they're building a personal brand, they fail horrifically in regards to monetizing it because they don't even know who they're selling to. So that, that importance of, like you said, the avatar, I don't even know where I've always called it, I don't know, we're showing our age here, the two of us, right? But, I've always called it my perfect customer or my prospect, right? That's a very sales term right there. Oh, that's my perfect prospect or something, right? But when did this avatar thing come? I think people make this stuff up on the internet just to be cool and funky or something. I don't know. But yeah, because whenever I ever hear that, I've worked on my avatar this way, I'm like, what are you doing? Like trying to, take on the movie? Like, I don't get it. But yeah, defining that perfect customer, what's their story? What situations are they currently in? How old are they? Where do they live? Are they single? Are they married? Do they have any children? What are they struggling with right now? And this is, now we're getting deep into it, right? Like, What are they struggling with? AKA, how can you and your expertise help them? Right? So, write down a handful of things that you know are their biggest pain points at this point. And obviously those pain points have to relate very closely to the solutions that you can provide to them. Because that's all we do as entrepreneurs, by the way. We're just problem solvers. Don't get any delusions of grandeur. All we're doing is just solving people's problems. That's it. And so if you can ultimately provide a solution to somebody's problem or problems in the right package, you then are blessed with the opportunity to be able to put a price tag on it. And that's why, people do well in business. It's because they are solving people's problems, right? And how can you solve problems if you don't know who you're solving them for? So those two exercises, defining you and defining your perfect customer or your avatar, are probably way more important than figuring out what your logo is going to look like on what your color scheme of your website's going to be. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. So now I know I'm going to be skipping a bunch of steps here, Chris, but let's just say
go.
I've got my personal brand figured out, and I got some content marketing going on, and I'm building up an audience. I got followers in the real world, and I got followers online. I've got some mojo. So whether, hey, if I want to be an entrepreneur, or I am an entrepreneur, I want to monetize my brand. And even again, if I'm, I've got that corporate day job, but I want a side hustle, I want a little bit of insurance, income wise, how can I monetize the brand and the platform that I've built up?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what you're going to sell. And the only way you can figure that out is to talk to people. I thoroughly suggest that you don't do what a lot of people do, and that is say, well, hey, I can put a great course together on how to be, a phenomenal dog groomer. But the fact is that if people in your network don't want to buy a course on how to become a great groomer of dogs, then you're going to be wasting all that time and energy in putting together that course. But if you survey them, if you ask questions of them, and you can do it via an online survey like SurveyMonkey, or you can do it face-to-face at, live events that you either hold or attend or speak at. If you survey them and you just ask 2 or 3 quick questions, what's the one thing you're struggling with the most right now? When you consume my online content, how does it make you feel? What problems am I solving for you? What type of content do you consume from me the most? Is it blog posts? Is it podcasts? Is it video? Let me know. See, those 2 questions alone, we know where the biggest pain point is. We know how they feel when we help them, and we know what type of content they are ultimately consuming the most. So let's say, for example, their biggest pain point right now is that they're struggling to build out their social media following. We know that when we help them via our content, that they feel relief. They feel like there's somebody in their corner. That's great P2P right there. And we also know that they like to watch our videos above and beyond everything else that we create. So what do? You put together a short video course on how to build out your social media presence in the right manner to be able to serve their audience better. So once you ask those survey questions, or you just talk to them in general, I mean, you can get really ninja with it and have a load of multiple choice things and all the rest of it. But ultimately, it's going to come down to those few things. And that's the first thing you do. You've got to figure out how, or rather what you're going to sell. And after that, it's figuring out the different ways that you can then go ahead and monetize that, whether it's a course or whether it's through a one-off info product. Maybe it's through putting decent sponsorships in front of them or sponsors in front of them. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's coaching. There's a lot of different ways to be able to monetize.
And I want to point attention to a couple of times you talked about asking questions about, how do you feel? Use the word feel. And I want to point attention to that because I firmly believe now that people, whether it's corporate buyers or individual buyers, we buy for emotional reasons and we justify it to ourselves and others with logical reasons. So it's not that you don't need the features and benefits and all that classic selling. Now, when I was in my 20s, Chris, I was young and dumb. I didn't believe that. I thought, oh no, there's logical buyers and there's emotional buyers, and most corporate people are logical. I think everybody's an emotional buyer, and we really need to understand those feelings. As you said, what are the frustrations of today? What are their fears about the future? And when you start getting to the emotional level of your audience, I mean, that's magic stuff. I mean, that's really what you need to uncover.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more on that, Kevin.
So, Chris, before we wrap up, I like to challenge our listeners every day that we do the show to become 1% better. So I like to give them a new skill or a technique that they can try out right away. What's one specific thing you want our listeners to try out based on the personal branding content that we've been covering?
I would love for them to define who they are. I want them to do that exercise, that one page, one line down the middle. What are you great at? And what do you suck at? I want them to that's the exercise. That's your homework, everybody. Get to it. That's, because that's where it begins, Kevin. That's you begin at the beginning, right? You can't build a personal brand if you don't know who you are and what you want to be known for, and how you're going to help and serve people. So I think that right there, it's the place to start when it comes to building out your personal brand. So define who you are. That's simple.
Perfect. Chris, what's the best way for our listeners to find out more about you and your programs?
We can go to KriseDucker.com. Everything is over there, but obviously if anybody's more interested in the Youpreneur side of things, they can go to Youpreneur.com as well.
Awesome. All right, friends, you've just been mentored by Chris Ducker, a proud British entrepreneur, author, speaker. He truly knows how to leverage the power of a personal brand. You can get the links and the show notes from this interview over at LEADx.org. And if you have a question for me, just send me an email. I'm at kevin@leadx.org. And finally, until next time, this is the quote I'm going to be thinking about from Chris Ducker. Serving, not selling, is the way to build a business in the 21st century. Thanks.